Good morning. Today we have with us Vanessa Glasgow, who served as a major in the U.S. Army. How are you doing, ma'am?
All is well.
We would like to start off by saying thank you for your service.
You're welcome.
We have a few questions to ask you about your military career.
Okay.
To begin, why did you choose the military as a career?
Well, I think the military sort of chose me. My brother was in the U.S. Marine Corps when I was in college, and when I got to college, they were just beginning the ROTC program, and I joined the ROTC program as the first African American female at my university. I went on a field training exercise, and the left, right after I came home got in my system, and so I thought, wow, this is something for me. And although I had graduated with a degree, I still didn't know what I wanted to do in life, so the military was a great start for me.
What was the greatest challenge you faced as a Christian while serving as a soldier?
As a brand new second lieutenant, going into the Army at 22 years old, I had 2 soldiers that were killed in the Beirut bombing, and I had to escort a chaplain to tell the spouses of their loss. As a brand new young officer, that was a very tough challenge, and I didn't even know the words that I would have to impart upon the young spouses themselves. And so God, He just walked with me, gave me the compassion and the words to be able to comfort those spouses.
Was there any particular moment where Christ was more prevalent in your life?
I think Christ has always been prevalent in my life. Dealing with diverse soldiers in the military from all walks of life. Christ has always been a leader and a guide in my life. Even when I didn't acknowledge Him, He always had me covered to deal with the many challenges of diverse people that I have encountered in my career.
Well, thank you again for your time, your service, and for sharing your experience with us here today.
You're very welcome.
Good morning. Today we have with us Senior Chief Petty Officer, retired James Charter, U.S. Coast Guard. How are you doing, sir?
I am blessed and highly favored. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for asking.
Excellent.
We would like to start off by saying thank you for your service.
You're very welcome.
Today we have a few questions we want to ask you about your military career. Why did you choose the military as a career?
Well, I chose the military as a plan B. Initially, graduating from high school, I was a football player, went to college, had my sights on the NFL, and God stepped in and had other plans due to an injury. So I came back home, and being from Detroit, walking around the city, everybody's working in the factory. That really wasn't for me. And I had a friend of mine from high school who had joined the Coast Guard. He was home on leave, and man, he was so excited, and this guy was he was full of energy, and man, you got to do this, you got to do this. So I didn't even know what the Coast Guard was. So I talked to him, went down to the recruiting office, and it turned out to be a wonderful thing.
How would you describe the relationship between your military duty and your Christian walk?
They walk hand in hand. Being a part of the Coast Guard's main mission is humanitarian and basically saving lives, helping people. And as a Christian, I feel that it's my job to help people as much as I can, to help them in whatever direction they can go if I can. And being part of the Coast Guard has allowed me to do that. I've been in third world countries, helped build schools. I've been in hurricanes, I've saved people's lives, I've put out fires. The list could go on. And all through all of that, God has always been on my side.
What was the greatest challenge you faced as a Christian while serving as a soldier?
Well, the greatest challenge for me was the Haitian migration. And the challenge was we had African American people who were leaving a country that was falling apart. The government had pretty much disbanded. There were riots in the streets, and these people were just getting on boats, getting on wooden, anything that would float. They were trying to get to the United States. And the Coast Guard was given the mission of repatriating these African Americans back to their country. And the hard part for me, being a boarding officer, my boarding crew was pretty much made up of young teenage African Americans who, on their first tour, didn't quite understand why African Americans could not come to the United States, but others could. And they were being ordered to take these people forcibly back to a country they didn't want to be in. And a particularly hard part for me was I didn't understand myself, but being a senior person, I had to follow orders, so I had to make them understand that we had to follow orders. And when we would take them back to Port-au-Prince, when they would go through the gates, the secret police, the secret, whatever you call them, would be standing at the gates with guns and clubs, and these people would be getting beaten. And here we are with guns, standing on the other side of the fence, and can't do anything about it. So that was probably the hardest thing for me, and I had to dwell on my faith to get me through that whole operation.
Well, thank you again for your time, your service, and for sharing your experience with us today.
I am more than glad to do it, and I'd like to get as many people as I can to join the Coast Guard, even though I'm retired.
Good morning. Today we have with us Lieutenant Commander, retired, Sonia Gibbons, U.S. Navy. How are you doing, ma'am?
I'm doing wonderful.
We would like to start off by saying thank you for your service. We have a few questions to ask you about your military career. To begin, why did you choose the military as a career?
I always knew that I would join the military. As a little girl, my uncle was in the Navy, and I would watch him come home during the summer with his uniform on. So I always knew that that was what I would do when I finished high school.
What has the military done for you?
The military actually did a lot for me. I was raised in a very small town. My high school graduating class was 125. It was a textile town. And I knew that I didn't want to stay in a small town, so the military gave me an opportunity to, one, see the world. It also gave me an opportunity to go to school, complete my education, but most of all, it taught me responsibility, how to set goals, and how to look forward to the future.
What would you say is the greatest challenge you face as a Christian while serving as a sailor?
I think one of the greatest challenges that I faced while serving in the Navy was my first duty station after being commissioned. It was right at the height of September 11th. And, you know, I always grew up with knowing about Christ and heaven. But when you have, I had a company of about 30 individuals, sailors, and they were all around the age of 18 to 20. And what I realized was that most did not know about God. And that was a very scary time, and it was a challenge because in the military, you shouldn't mix religion and the military. But during that time, I felt it was important to be able to give them something to hold on to and to let them know the things they needed to do to be saved, and to let them know that if anything happened during war, if they believed about Christ and his burial and his resurrection, that they would, if something were to happen, that they had a place in heaven.
Was there any particular moment where Christ was more prevalent in your life?
Yes. In that same duty station, I had a sailor who was really afraid about going to war. I mean, he had other mental issues, but the thought of going to war really pushed him over the edge, and he committed suicide. I really had to rely on Christ and praying, because as his company commander, I really felt like, could I have done more? Could I have said more? And it was hard for me to think about delivering his belongings to his parents. But there was a positive to that. His parents were very glad that I brought his belongings to them, because I got to share with them what I had observed in the last 4 years, the person that I got to know. And that's a part of them, a part of him that they didn't get to see So I was very grateful, and God helped me through that.
Well, thank you again for your time, your service, and for sharing your experience with us today.
Thank you very much.